In your 50s, it is crunch time in preparing for retirement. Don't make these common mistakes. I've got that and more coming up. My name is Mike Bernard. I'm the host of the Wise Money Show. I'm also one of the certified financial planners right here at Korhorn Financial Group. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and smash that thumbs up button. The retirement red zone, the home stretch, whatever you want to call it, the last decade or few years before your retirement in your 50s is a time where you should be laser focused on, all right, what exactly do I need to get done and get accomplished in my financial life in order to be able to hit retirement with confidence and clarity and that peace of mind versus unsure if it's going to work. And while that might seem logical, and you might be listening to this saying, well, of course, I'm very focused on retirement, we do see a lot of people that lose focus, that go adrift, or actually they were on track and then they go astray during this last decade or so of retirement. Because we do comprehensive financial planning, looking at all 6 areas of your financial life, of people's financial life, we've been able to help thousands of people be able to retire successfully. But in that process, we've seen countless examples of folks that have come to us in this crucial stage who have gotten off track, and they're coming to us saying, how do I get back on track? Well, there's a few common mistakes that can occur when you're in this retirement red zone in your 50s before you retire. I'm going to help you avoid them. Here's the top 3. Number 1 mistake in your 50s is no tax planning or not the right level of tax planning. In this time, it's crucial that you are proactive with your tax approach instead of just being reactive. So I would ask you right now, is your tax approach still, well, I'm preparing my return once a year during tax season? That's reactive. That's not proactive. That is tax preparation. That's not tax planning. Tax planning is one of the 6 areas of your financial life that all 6 areas need to be working together. Tax planning is looking proactively at your tax situation to see what opportunities exist for you to pay the least amount of tax over your lifetime. By the way, it also helps you avoid surprises as well. So here, one of the disciplines that we have is building a multi-year tax projection so that we're able to forecast out several years, even decades. And yes, tax laws will probably change and your income levels will change, but we're at least forecasting it out so that we can get a sense for what it might look like. And that forecast helps inform your decisions today. So in your 50s, are all of your retirement dollars pre-tax? Therefore, do you need to start funding Roth? Should you continue to fund pre-tax but then fund a Roth IRA? What about a backdoor Roth, a spousal IRA, spousal Roth, mega backdoor Roth? What about maxing that HSA? Or maybe even doing Roth conversions? These are just a handful of the questions that you need to evaluate and look through, not just on a moment-by-moment basis, but yes, in this moment, projecting out what retirement's going to look like, what several years will look like all down the road. All for the reasons of thinking through, well, how will I pay tax on Social Security? Will I have to pay an IRMA for my Medicare, an income-related monthly adjustment amount, or a surcharge for my Medicare? And what will my tax picture look like when I'm forced to take required minimum distributions, RMDs? That's why you need that tax planning. We would argue throughout your working career, but certainly in those final stages before retirement, so you have more choice and more options. Second big retirement risk in your 50s is getting too conservative with your investments too early. And I get it. As you get closer to that finish line, or you're starting to look at well, this is when I'm going to be stepping away from my paycheck, you also have seen your portfolio grow to the highest level it's ever been. And when you see some market volatility, or maybe you see, politics or the direction of the country going in a way that maybe disagrees with how you'd like it to go, you start thinking, well, I'm not going to be able to retire if I lose money or if it temporarily declines. And that forces many people into this, I would say actually unforced error of looking at their entire nest egg and getting super conservative. Often this happens during a regular, and I hate to say it like this, but it is regular, even though it conjures up my emotions too, but a regular market correction. A correction a 10% decline from a high point to a low point, guys, on average, we see one every year. Going back to the 80s, the average intra-year decline, so from a high point to a low point, is 14%. And yet still, all over 75% of all years end up being positive in the stock market. But it feels different. It feels different when you're climbing the mountain versus when you get near the top or when you're climbing down. You'll start seeing and thinking, oh my goodness, my investments just dropped, 6 figures. I had 1.5 million. I just lost 200 grand. I'm not going to be able to retire like this. But the truth is, you, in your 50s especially, you still have hopefully 3, maybe 4 decades with this money. And it's that volatility that gives you the opportunity for the higher future return. So here's a solution instead. We call it the personal pension plan, and it brings your investment approach back down to the fundamentals. At a time when you might feel more emotional, brings it back down to the fundamentals. And what I mean is, well, what's the time horizon? How long, even the best investment, and truly guys, the best investment that has the best return will have some risk. So at seasons, you could look at one small season, could be a quarter, could be a month, could be a year, could be a couple years, and that investment's not going to look that great. There will be times like that. The best investments in a short time period might perform poorly. So what's your time horizon with these dollars? And as you are in your 50s, you might say, okay, I'm going to need to start pulling some money out in 5 years. Well, that's no longer long-term money. So the money that you think you're going to need in the next 5 years or 3 years or whatever, start reducing the risk of those dollars. But the dollars that you won't need to touch for 10 years plus, they need to stay long-term. And just that clarity, we often will kind of do the math and say, okay, well, when you retire, you'll have your Social Security, you'll have this source of income, and then you'll need to draw X amount from your investments, and therefore, you can do the math to say this is how much you're going to need in the short term or in the intermediate term, and let's invest those short-term dollars in safe, steady, interest-bearing investments, the intermediate-term dollars in income-producing investments, medium risk, and then you've got all the rest of the dollars that you now have the clarity and confidence that, nope, those are the dollars that I'm going to need in my 60s, my 70s, my 80s, and yeah, it's prudent to see those go up and down and to see those temporarily decline. So that's the second big risk. You got to stick to your long-term investment game plan, doing a personal pension plan, something like that, working with your CFP to avoid it. Now, the third big risk in your 50s that threatens your retirement is going to surprise you. This third mistake is you actually increase your lifestyle. You increase your spending habits. Now, I'm assuming you're looking at this from a couple different ways, and the first is, how is that possible? Listen, oftentimes in this retirement red zone in your 50s, you become empty nesters. And what that means is you've got fewer kids on the payroll, right? And so your expenses actually go down. Right now, my kids are heavy into travel sports. Every meal costs a lot more because we're feeding more mouths. Vacations cost a lot more. We're in the process soon to be buying vehicles and auto insurance. And and that gets worse, right? As they get into college, as they get older, but then it will taper off. And during that tapering off, the question is, well, now we've got more disposable income. What do you do with it? And I'm not, so this is the other thing. Don't hear me say you're not allowed to enjoy it. No. Have that proactive financial plan, your 5-factor retirement plan, so that you know, well, does this discretionary income, does it need to be saved up in order to stay on track? If we do spend more of it, what spending levels are we assuming we're going to have in retirement? And here's the big risk. If you are assuming in retirement, in that 5-factor retirement plan, what age do you want to be done? What age are you going to retire? How much are you spending? What's your sources of retirement income? How are you going to optimize Social Security? How much do you have saved up for retirement? How much are you saving? And then what's your investment risk tolerance? So what kind of return can you expect on your investments? Those 5, this is the secret. Many people make this mistake. Those are the 5 factors. They're interrelated. They're not separate. So you can't say, and I'm gonna make it extreme so that you can see this. You can't say, I want to retire at 40. I want to spend $15,000 a month. I will have no income. That's fine. I haven't saved anything and I don't want to take any risk. You would say, of course you can't do that. So you've got to recognize then Then if you're saying, I'm going to retire at 62, we're going to spend $7,000 a month, we're going to draw Social Security right away, we've saved up $2 million bucks, and we're taking balance risk. If all of a sudden, instead of spending $7,000, you spend $8,000 or $8,500, now that's going to mean you might need to work longer, you might need to save up more, and can you save up more if you're actually spending more? No, that's funny. I call it the Bernard paradox. The less you spend, the more you can save, but the less you spend, the more you need to save. But the opposite is true as well. The more you spend, the more you need to save, but the more you spend, the less you're able to save, right? And so oftentimes as the kids get off the payroll, you become empty nesters, or you get debt free, you pay off that mortgage, there's a temptation to increase your spending. What's it look like? Could just be more discretionary spending because the budget's not as tight. Oftentimes it's also, we're gonna buy that second home, or we're gonna downsize to a more expensive house, and instead of being debt free, or instead of having the $1,000 mortgage, now we have a $2,500 mortgage that stretches into retirement. And I'm not saying you shouldn't do that, shouldn't do those things, but do it with awareness. Plan ahead, update that in your 5-factor retirement plan, and make sure that you're appropriately planning for what you're gonna spend in retirement, so that in your 50s you don't all of a sudden get off course because now you're spending way more than your plan suggests that you can. So those are the 3 big mistakes people often make with retirement in their 50s. The solution, guys, to these 3 and really the other ones that throw people off track is working with the certified financial planner, a CFP, that's looking at all 6 areas of your financial life. They're going to be a fiduciary. They're going to be an expert and have and collaborate with experts in each of those 6 areas. And they're going to be on your side, helping to guide you and navigate and giving you clarity and confidence and creative solutions, helping you get through your 50s to your 60s and to retire safely. If you don't have a CFP on your team, you can contact one on my team. Find us online, Korhorn.com. That's Korhorn with K, wisemoneyshow.com. You can find us there as well, or give us a call, 574-247-5898. All right, there you have it. Go on and take your next wise step in your financial life.